You're in the trenches with Dave Lapham, presented by First Star Logistics. The Cincinnati Bengals finished preseason play and training camp, falling to the Indianapolis Colts 27-14. And Lap, just like First Star Logistics says, opportunity knocking. Well, guess what? There were some Bengals that took advantage of their opportunities. And when we start talking about this game, Trayon Williams, 66 yards on 11 carries, a 6.0 average. Jermaine Burton comes up big with 4 catches, 56 yards, a 14-yard average, and a touchdown. And Jordan Battle, an interception for a touchdown.
Yeah, I'll tell you, those guys did take advantage of snap opportunities. And, you know, if I'm a young player, I look at Trayon Williams and say, you know what? I'm going to model the way I approach it like this guy. This guy's a pro's pro. I mean, it's like, hey, Trayon, you know, we know you haven't gotten a whole lot of carries during the regular seasons the last, few years. I mean, he's going into his 6th year now. And it's like during the preseason, he wants the opportunity. He doesn't care who he's playing with, who he's playing against. He wants to lug the rock. I mean, he wants to play football. He's a pro's pro, and he gets himself ready for that type of work at all times, as well as special teams. I mean, he's a return guy. He's a cover guy. He does everything for Darren Simmons as well. He's one of Darren Simmons' core special teams guys. So it's like, here's a guy that has carved himself out a niche and a role in the National Football League, doing whatever he needs to do to help his football team. And then along the way, he's helping himself. And like you said, averaged 6 yards a pop. He had back-to-back 14-yard rushes. He had a 16-yard carry as well. You know, it was kind of all or nothing with him. Those carries were pretty spectacular. And he had a couple of 6-yard rushes, and then he had 4 carries for only 2 yards. He had a 1-yard carry, and he had a no gainer. So, you know, his offensive line was either giving him opportunity for him to expand upon, or it wasn't happening. So, his first 5 carries of the game, he had 5 yards on his first 4 rushes. 2 yards, nothing. 1 yard, 2 yards. He's averaging a little over a yard a carry. Does he get discouraged? No. He rips off back-to-back 14-yard rushes. And so then in the last 7 carries of the game, he totals 61 yards. And he averages almost 9 yards a pop. So, you know, again, it's like, it's not how it starts, it's how you finish, you know. And so many young players can gain so much, learn so many lessons from a guy like Trayon Williams, who just has the right approach, the right attitude, the right mentality for all of it. And Burton, I mean, this guy, you cannot deny this guy's talent. I mean, there's just, you'd be foolish to do so. I mean, he comes with some challenges for sure, and that's the mental part of it. You know, he has to focus more. He has to get his nose in the playbook. Being a pro is being a professional mentally as well as physically. But man, he's competitive. He knows how to play the ball down the football field. He knows how to body himself. He uses his body to his advantage. You know, he boxes people out like in basketball and contested catches. I mean, he is a definitely skilled football player. You know, now you have to think as coaches, all right, well, if he's struggling mentally, do we have a package or a Burton package that he can really focus on and make sure that he understands what to do against every single coverage? And if the coverage changes after the snap of the football, he can make that sort of adjustment. And that's what he's struggling with now. And they have to figure out a way to utilize this guy, though, because like you said, he had the 4 catches for 56 yards in this football game. The preseason, 8 catches, 154 yards, 2 touchdowns. You know, he's averaging almost 20 yards a catch still for the preseason. And, you know, he's got 21-yard and 38-yard touchdown receptions. So he is an explosive guy. He's a big play waiting to happen. But, man, they're going to have to make sure that when he's out on the football field, that the coaches and not only the coaches but the teammates, particularly the guy number 9 at the quarterback position, has faith and can trust the fact that he knows where he's supposed to be when he's supposed to be there. Because, you know, if not, turnovers can happen. And if Joe has a turnover through no fault of his own, but his receiver let him down, I'm not going to go there anymore. You know, it's not going to be looking for Burton. So he has to understand that and advance himself and grow as a professional. So hopefully he keeps his nose in the playbook. And it's Woodside had a solid day, 16 to 21, 98 yards, and he had the touchdown pass. He did have the fumble. His whole day, though, and basically the Bengals' whole day, was horizontal passing. I mean, it was screens. They ran their screen game. I mean, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends. It was screen, screen, screen. And it worked well for him. Yeah, Jordan Battle had the huge pick six and took advantage of wide receiver and quarterback being on different pages. And that's what we're talking about with Burton. Richardson read the coverage one way, receiver read it the other way. Burton threw the ball behind where the receiver was going. He thought the receiver was going to break the opposite direction. He broke out instead of breaking in. Jordan Battle was the beneficiary of that. I mean, it was like he said after the game, it was a Christmas present. And there it was, and he unwrapped it and took it to the house. So those are the kind of things that you don't want to have happen, particularly when the games start to count. You don't want to be on different pages. And Jordan Battle has been one of the more consistent special teams players for Darren Simmons in the preseason, and that's big because right now he's the third safety, so he'll only be on the football field. God forbid, if there's injury, he'll be on the football field sooner, but he'll be in those three safety packages that Lou Anarumo likes to run. But you've got the killer bees, Von Bell, and not killer bees, the killer safeties, Von Bell and Geno Stone back there, getting it done at the safety position, and veteran guys, great communicators. Jordan Battle's learning a lot from those guys from a knowing how to communicate standpoint. And the reason that he got the interception, he and Tyson Anderson, they disguised it well. Lou Anarumo is the master. Lou Dini is the master back there in terms of having his safeties not tipping who's going to roll down toward the line of scrimmage and who's going to drop. And, they did it to perfection. And the wide receiver read it one way, the quarterback read it another way. And as a result, bam, you got yourself a big play, a defensive score. Takeaway touchdowns are extraordinary, no doubt about it. And, some other guys that I thought played well and didn't maybe have like splash plays like some of these guys we're talking about. I thought Jalen Davis was solid. I thought he gave a solid defensive effort against the Colts. I thought, he got an opportunity to take a bunch of snaps and he fulfilled the effort and results that I think he was looking for. And Young Meta again made a bunch of plays. Both of these guys made plays on defense and special teams, and that's the thing. They're getting evaluated by both. They're getting evaluated by the defensive coaches and Darren Simmons for special teams players as well. Shaka Hayward is in the hunt. Devin Harper's in the hunt at that linebacker position with Young Meta. But Hayward just doesn't finish enough plays. He doesn't finish plays like Young Meta does. And I think Harper was okay. He was average, maybe a little bit of a cut above, but I'm not sure that anybody did anything to unseat what Young Meta has built through the course of the preseason. I mean, he's been, the leading tackler just about every single game, and he's shown that he can hold up on special teams. I think he's going to be solid in that area for Darren Simmons as well. Rookie tight end Eric All, I thought he was very good, man. I think he continues to ascend. I think he's going to make some noise this season. Kirkland going out to the right tackle position for the first time, more than held his own. I think Lee continues to grow at the center position. I thought he was very solid again. Gillum playing guard. He was playing the left guard position, and he played a ton of snaps. 2 games ago, Lee and Gillum took every single snap. Gillum took a bunch of snaps again last night, and he did a lot of good things. I mean, he's a guy that, worst case scenario, I think you got to continue to try to develop the guy. Hopefully he clears waivers and they can reclaim him for the practice squad. I thought Cody Ford was solid. Cody Ford was working against Latu. And, Latu can rush the passer, man. This guy, 17th pick of the draft. He's a very accomplished pass rusher. And Ford, I thought, did pretty darn well during the course of the football game. So, a lot of guys, I think, they knew they were going to have significant snap opportunities, and a lot of guys took advantage of those snap opportunities. And like we've always said, sometimes the score doesn't indicate how individuals performed in their particular matchups. And I think a lot of these guys are going to, say after the football game when they went to sleep last night, they could close their eyes and not have their eyes wide open, looking at the ceiling, saying, "Oh man, I just wish I did a little bit more. I wish I hadn't done this. I wish I did that." I think most of these guys can close their eyes and say, "You know what? I'm at peace. I did the best I could. And, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. That's life. But if it doesn't work out, it's not going to be because I didn't, prepare and I didn't, perform to the level that I wanted to perform at with that preparation." I think a lot of these guys are going to be like, "Hey, I put it all out there in the field. If it's good enough, great. If not, I'm not going to kill myself over it because I did everything I could." And the worst thing in the world is when you have question in your mind, "Oh man, I wish I would have done this. I wish I would have done that." And you hate to be in that boat. And I don't think many of these guys, or if any of these guys, are in that boat.
Dave Lapham in the Trenches is brought to you by First Star Logistics. First Star Logistics is currently hiring freight agents. They are an asset-based company with 24/7 support, unsaturated agent network, highest commission percentage in the industry, and over 30,000 pre-screened carriers. For more information on the opening positions, visit firststarlogistics.com/careers for all the information on one of the fastest growing companies in Cincinnati and a great place to work. Lap, if you're Duke Tobin, you have to be extremely happy because you looked at the roster you put together, the 90 guys you brought into your camp, and you had competition after competition throughout this whole camp, which says a lot when you look at the last two preseason games. Yes, they go under the loss column as far as a score, but you had your backups in both of those contests play against first team offenses and defenses and held up quite well. So it says you did a good job scouting the guys you brought into camp.
Yeah, it's not like they didn't belong, Dave. I agree with you. I mean, they competed and they competed well. And I do think that this training camp was very, very sound and solid in how they have prepared the players for the opening game, because practices themselves were a high level of enthusiasm and energy. And it started to get chippy, and they got tired of hitting each other day after day. And practices, they were about football. It wasn't individual drills and underwear ball, shorts and T-shirts. They were out there doing situational football, whether it be, second down and long, third down, no matter what the distance, short, medium, or long. If you don't convert on third down and it's a short fourth down conversion, go ahead and get that done in that period. Red zone, third down, move the ball, unscripted. That's just football. It's like line up and play. And, each down, when that down is completed, it's a whole new circumstance for the next down, and it's good for the coaches to get in a rhythm for calling plays. It's good for the players to get in that kind of rhythm. They did that all training camp long, and then compound them doing that with joint practices with different teams, different players, different schematics, different concepts, and they got a lot of good work. And it was ones against ones, twos against twos, twos against ones in those joint practices as well. So the number ones didn't get a whole lot of work in the preseason games. They got a ton of work, a ton of snaps in the practices and joint practices. And it was physical. It wasn't patty cake stuff. It wasn't underwear ball. So I think they're going to be ready. I think they're going to be more than ready for that first game. Joe Burrow, said during the course of the football game, during the TV broadcast, that he was okay to play. He wanted to maybe get another series in that last preseason game, and they were thinking about it. The coaching staff was, in my understanding, right up until a couple of days before the game, and decided not to go there. So the one series that he's in the game is a 12-play, 73-yard touchdown drive, aided immeasurably by a 3rd and 12 defensive penalty that gave him a first down. And that's the other thing, Dave. I thought there was great improvement from preseason game 2 to 3. 11 penalties in preseason game number 2. One penalty for 5 yards. Now, it was a huge one. It was 3rd and 20 plus, and it was legal use of hands holding on rookie safety that Dejon Anthony's saying, oh man, I hope that one doesn't hurt me all that much. I don't think they're going to, basically say you're done after that play. I think he's going to make the football team, and I think he's going to be very, very good on Darren Simmons' special teams. But that penalty, the one penalty for 5 yards, was massive because it continued their drive and they ended up getting points out of it. But just one penalty the entire game, that's pretty good, and they were -3 in the first 2 preseason games in turnover department, and they had the pick 6, so they get a defensive score off their takeaway, which is 5-star takeaway right there. And they had the fumble. They had no interceptions, but Woodside fumbled the football. The Colts put it on the ground. Richardson put it on the ground one time, but Nelson he recovered it. He fell on top of it, so no takeaway there. But it was good to see the Bengals, at least separate the football from Richardson. Quentin Nelson heads up fell on it, but I thought there was a big improvement there. But man, time of possession, rushing yards. I mean, that dictates time of possession. The Colts handled the running game. I mean, it was massive. The differential at the line of scrimmage there in the running game. And as a result, the Colts, they go 10 for 16 on third down because they have a lot more third and makeables. So that's converting at 62.5%. I mean, you can't allow that to be the case. The Bengals, on the other hand, they were in a bunch of third and longs, 3 for 9, 33%. And that trickles down to time of possession and everything that goes along with it. So, still a lot of work to be done. But again, like we said before, it was 2s going against their 1s in a lot of situations there. And the Bengals substituted pretty freely. It was 2s and 3s for a big part of that football game. And the Indianapolis Colts number 1s went right up until the very end of the second quarter. It was like the last drive offensively of the second quarter. The Colts, made their substitution. So they lived by what they said. They thought that the 1s would go almost a half, and that's exactly what happened. But honestly, Dave, when you're a young guy getting the opportunity to perform against starting caliber NFL players, and you can put that tape out there for the last preseason game when teams are trying to make decisions with all these guys on the waiver wire. I mean, it is gonna be nuts. Look, approximately 1,200 players going to be on the waiver wire. 500 of them, if they after waivers, they're cleared of waivers, they can be claimed on the practice squad. And so 500 of them will return, but about 700 players are basically saying goodbye to the league at this the National Football League anyway at this point in time. So, and that's the thing I said to Zach in the postgame conversation we had. I said, when in this scenario, if you waive some of your players and you can bring them back on the practice squad, you may have to clear waivers before you can bring them back to your practice squad. If they're out there, and then there's somebody else like you can't believe, wow, this guy is out there. Well, they were stacked at the linebacker position or the running back position or whatever position for this guy to be out there. But this team is really, really deep at that spot, and they let a good player go. Do you say, you know what? How much better is he? If it's significant, that's an obvious decision. But if it's not, boy, we've invested all this time, with each other. The players invested time with us. The coach invested time with him. We've developed him to this point. He knows our system a lot more than bringing somebody in off the street would know. And Zach said, yeah, that's all true. But, if he's better, we're trying to find the best 53 players we can. So bottom line is, man, if somebody was just in the wrong camp, and he's a pretty damn good football player, but he got caught in a numbers game because that particular team was loaded at one position group, and he was that position group. A lot of times it's stunning, the guys that show up on the waiver wire, and we'll have to see if any of that does take place. But I think the Bengals are in pretty good shape there, and honestly, it might even affect the 53-man roster. If that good of player has been let go by somebody else, the ninth offensive lineman or the seventh defensive back or whatever the case may be, it might be, wow, my job's in jeopardy because this guy he might come take it. And that's what it's all about in the National Football League. It's competitive. It's the best, highest level of football that there is, known to man, and the players are that good. There's no question about it. It's that competitive.
Sunday, September 8th, 1 p.m. kickoff. The New England Patriots will come to Paycor Stadium. Lap, as you said, this is the next, here we are on Friday afternoon. The next few days, you got a bunch of guys just going, man, what is my future going to be across the whole NFL? And it's going to be interesting to see the cuts that are made by the Cincinnati Bengals and by other teams. And even at Tuesday at 4:00, when the deadline is for the cut down, that roster is not going to be set probably for a few more days afterwards, because as you said, a lot of, you start evaluating, where did you have guys on your board? How did your team evaluated this player? You went through that some as a rookie, not knowing if you're going to make the team as a rookie or not. And you told the story about how they kind of got to you, but how nerve-wracking is it for a young player?
It is. I mean, you get in your own head. There's no question about it. It's like, as a rookie, I get married literally days before training camp. And, I can remember, many times during training camp, I check in with my newly married wife, and I'd say, Leah, I don't think I'm going to make it. I mean, Mike Reed just destroyed me today in pass rush. I mean, I barely laid a glove on him, and then I'd call her, the next day, and, hey, I think I might make it. I did pretty well today. I did a lot better than I did yesterday. So it is a huge emotional roller coaster. And honestly, I was glad that I had her as somebody that I could, kind of, spill it all out to. A lot of these, guys are not married. They don't have anybody like that, and they're just taking it to their room at night and going to sleep and just, having all this mental and internal turmoil about it. At least I was able to get it off my chest and had a partner to, to share it with. And all of that's a factor. And, I can't imagine what she was thinking on the other end. She's thinking, should I pack my stuff up and come to Cincinnati or not? It's like, what's going on here? So it is. It's a definite unsettling time for a lot of these young guys. And then you have guys also. There's going to be guys on this football team that have been on the football team that may not be on the football team anymore because other guys have ascended and they've gotten, they're developed and they're performing at a higher level. I mean, Jackson Carman, I think, is in serious jeopardy. Trey Hill is in serious jeopardy. These guys have been here in the offensive line, for example, for a few years. So that's the life. I mean, that's what you're looking at. Not only to make it as your rookie year, but man, now you have to approach it. You can never take it for granted. If you take it for granted, if you think, oh, I've arrived, I'm going to be making the team next year. That's when you're going to get the kick in the butt and the knock on the door to kick you in the butt and move you on. And then the other things, Miles Murphy, they're going to have to make a decision. Do we put him on an injury list, or will it only be a couple of weeks? I mean, if they're saying the injury is 4 to 6 weeks, it's a little over 2 weeks still. So the injury, the clock was ticking with getting near 3 weeks. So if he's only going to miss a game or two potentially, you carry him on the roster. But if you think it's going to be a month, put him on that 4-week list. And now there's a spot available on the 53-man roster. So, I mean, all of these semantics have to go on. They have to make injury calls there, at the punter spot. It's like, okay, well, what do we do? Brad Robbins, he's got a hip flexor issue. How long is that going to be? Ryan Rako, he has not taken advantage of, and you hate to say it that way, but honestly, when Robbins suffers the injury, okay, go out and just dominate and take the job. Well, he hasn't. And I wonder, what's Darren Simmons thinking? It's like, man, like we talked about, opportunity knocked, and he didn't even open the door a crack. He just kind of like let him keep knocking out there. I'm gonna do whatever I need to, whatever I'm doing. So he had an opportunity, I think, to basically secure the punting job, and I don't think he did. So now what do? Do you put Robbins on an injury list and you carry him, and then when Robbins is healthy, or do you carry two punters? I mean, I don't know if you do that. You don't carry two punters, but if Robbins can't punt on the active roster, but if Robbins can't punt, you're going to have to put him on some sort of injury list, and then he won't be available to you for a month. And then during that course of time, if Rako, it's like, okay, well, now I've got it figured out. I know what I was doing wrong. He starts booming the ball again. And here's poor Robbins on the injured list, can't compete, can't do anything about it. And then, they let him go. I mean, that's just, those are crazy examples of what life is like in the National Football League. And a lot of guys have sleepless nights as a result of it.
Yeah, not just players, coaches. I'm glad we're just the ones talking about it after it happens instead of the ones having to make those decisions.
Right, right. It is. I mean, the coaches, the organizational people, like you said, Duke Tobin and his people, and the coaches and ownership, they all get together, and and here in Cincinnati, they get together and they watch tape together after every practice. I mean, and if they don't watch it together, they're watching it as groups individually. Ownership's watching it, the personnel department's watching it, and the coaches are watching it with players, and coaches are watching it individually. But game tape, oh man, game tape is it's viewed, consumed, and digested as one big group in terms of the decision making. So I think that's a very sound way of doing it, because now you can kind of feel like, okay, what's everybody thinking about players, and you can get on the same page quicker. It's a majority rule decision, and you can have a pretty good handle on that. Like, they already know it's probably down to like 3 very tough decisions that they're going to have to make, and they're just basically talking it over with each other, getting every opinion out on the table that they can possibly get, and then they're going to come to a consensus decision on it. So and that individual player's career is hanging in the balance.
You've been in the trenches with Dave Lapham, presented by First Star Logistics. Again, First Star Logistics is hiring freight agents right now. They're an asset-based company with 24/7 support, an unsaturated agent network, highest commission percentage in the industry, and over 30,000 pre-screened carriers. Visit firststarlogistics.com careers to get the latest information on the fastest growing company in Cincinnati and an awesome place to be a part of. Lap, it's hard to believe the preseason. It just seems like we just started talking training camp, and here we are. The preseason's over. It's time for some real football where you get a couple weekends to kind of enjoy before that grind hopefully will end in New Orleans in a Super Bowl for the Cincinnati Bengals.
That'd be a great place to celebrate a great season. Would be New Orleans, man. Mardi Gras capital. It would be a mini Mardi Gras for sure. Maybe not even a mini Mardi Gras. It might be as big as that Mardi Gras celebration. New Orleans is a great host city, and it's got everything. It's got great weather. It's got great food. The hospitality. They're always thrilled to be hosting the National Football League and their Super Bowl. I mean, it would be a great place for the Cincinnati Bengals to match up with the NFC champion and try to win a Super Bowl trophy. That would be awesome.
Well, everything seems to be going in the Bengals' way. Joe Burrow made it through all training camp. Now we just got to bubble wrap him until week 1. And then you have, the one thing, I don't want to get into today because everyone's talking about it, the Jamar Chase situation, the contract. It sounds like, as you and I both know, this thing can be done overnight. And there's no sense to, dig into what's going on there. But it's going to be interesting to see, as we've talked about all through this, about those cuts that'll come on Tuesday or in between now and Tuesday when they make the final roster. So it should be a lot of stuff to talk about when we get together to talk about the roster being put together come Tuesday afternoon.
Yeah, they're going to have practices down there a couple of the days. It's either Sunday and Monday or Saturday and Sunday. And those are not open to the media because they are making decisions. Honestly, practice is a factor. If practice can be a tiebreaker, if it's like, boy, these two guys in game tape have been equal. I mean, virtually equal. What's the tiebreaker? Oh, the tiebreaker is, how does he come to work every day? What's he like in meetings? What's he like with his teammates? How intelligent is he? Does he pick it up fast? Or is it a guy that, oh man, he's a piece of work? I mean, there are too many issues to deal with this guy. He ultimately makes plays, but man, this other guy, from a tangible and intangible standpoint, the intangibles are just, off the charts in comparison. And that's an easy decision. Sometimes it comes down to maybe just one or two intangibles. I mean, you're looking, you're searching. It's almost like you're trying to find a needle in a haystack to support your opinion on a final guy. And sometimes it's just, a gut feel about guys. And the hardest thing for coaches to do is make a projection on who will develop faster. When I'm coaching these guys, who do I think is somebody that's going to develop faster? And usually, it's the guy that has the higher football IQ, that has the acumen to absorb and digest more, because, it's like a lot of guys can, take on a block, defeat it, and make a tackle. But if you ask them to disguise, or you ask them to, now get to the next level, instead of an introductory level course, you're talking doctorate level courses in the NFL with respect to game plans. That's always a tiebreaker. There's no question about it.
You've been in the trenches with Dave Lapham. We encourage you to hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so already. Also, like our videos. That helps the algorithm with YouTube to continue growing it. And we can't say enough about everything at First Star Logistics and the things they do for us to bring you in the trenches with Dave Lapham. For Dave Lapham, this is Dave Berk. Hooday!
Hooday, Dave.
Dave Lapham here, and every day I am grateful for my experience to have played professional football. As a player, I realized self-motivation, leadership, and appreciating your teammates are key. At First Star Logistics, you can use those same attributes to create the life you want for you and your family. Build your future by working hard like I did. You'll see results both on and off the field. Call First Star Logistics today and be part of our winning team.